Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Powell Show. I'm your host, Dr. Keisha Powell. Today we have a wonderful lady who I adore her. I'm inspired by the work that she does, but I won't say much. Let's talk about this when we get back. Welcome back to the Dr. Powell Show. I'm your host, Dr. Keisha Powell. With us today is Ms. Brittany Jones, CEO of Be Free Communications and Consulting LLC. She's an author, an Emmy-nominated television host, recent 2025 Black in Business Goldman and Sachs recipient. Welcome to the Dr. Powell Show. It is such an honor to have you here today.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Powell, I am so excited to be here with you and just really talk about what it means to turn pain into passion. So I'm very excited to be here just to share the stories.
Can you see my smile? Listen, I cannot stop smiling because when I tell you that Brittany Jones is phenomenal, it is an understatement. Could you tell us a bit about your background and what you do?
Yes, and it may be a long list, right?
Go
Because
ahead.
I have been super, super blessed and just so grateful to God about just how he's been using me in multiple spaces. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my business, Be Free Communications and Consulting. I have created what is for mission-driven professionals, talking about therapists, psychologists like yourself, you name it, and also people who work in the social impact sector and education and really helping people elevate their voices, their businesses so that people can see the wonderful work that they're doing and have the opportunity to highlight the works that they're doing to be able to be seen, heard, and paid. And on top of that, I have been working as a journalist for 15 years. I worked as a national news anchor and a reporter in the field. And then also, as you mentioned, a host. I'm a podcast host and the author of Mike the Friendly Firefighter, which is also an award-winning book. And a lot of just my journey has been about storytelling. Anything that I do in my business, what I do in my life is all about storytelling because our stories are so important. So that's how I really got started as a kid. My best friend and I used to write in our composition notebooks and make up our own stories. But that is really how it started back in second to third grade. And which lended me to becoming a journalist, a host, and then also an author.
Wow. Did I not say she was inspirational? I like how you said it. I like how you started out, how I took my pain and turned it into passion. But it sounds like your passion also stemmed from your childhood, which is awesome. And I would also encourage viewers to go out there and purchase Mike the Friendly Firefighter, which we were going to talk about him in a few minutes. How did your journey begin, and when did you enter the field of communication?
My journey started about 15 years ago, and I was in journalism school, graduated from University of Florida. Shouts out to the Gators, go Gators. And I was really like learning how to develop my storytelling skills, going into journalism school and them teaching me how to write because that love and that passion that started as a kid, but actually being able to develop into telling stories on camera, getting comfortable with doing that, going out into the field, interviewing people, and really just having an opportunity to share people's story. I always have taken a delight in learning more about people and making sure that those who don't have a voice or letting them know that they do have a voice and that it can be heard. And so that's really how I developed that storytelling tactic in saying, I want to know people's stories, not be all up in their business, but it's for good reason to be able to share those stories, to be able to help someone else who needs to hear their stories. And I've done that from covering politics to education to maternal health to finances and different things that have impacted the Black community, as working as a national host as well. So really taking those skills and developing that into what's been a joyous career for me. And then on the other side of things is the communications. It's building brands and helping people tell their best story. So it's all tied together, in which the way that I've always developed in writing those stories and telling those stories um, um, visibly, and just having the opportunity to share them with people. But it's also saying that what we do is so important. So you have to get it in front of somebody so that people can know what it is that you do and the impact that you're making.
Thank you. As a business owner and as a woman business owner, because again, not many, I know it's difficult for many women of color who are business leaders. What struggles did you have and how were you able to overcome them?
You know, it's it's a very multifaceted question, because you think about, for me, a little bit about my background, and I know we're going to touch on this a little bit later in the conversation, but I always saw myself as an entrepreneur, but I guess I just didn't know when. I was traditionally in a newsroom for the last 13 years until I started the business back in 2022. And I lost my fiance in the line of duty. He was a firefighter in Jacksonville for 7.5 years in 2021. And so that led me into saying, I got to take a step away from doing news full time. But when it came time to say, okay, what am I going to do next? It really developed into, maybe this is the time to actually take the step into starting the business. And I did. And it's so crazy because I didn't know like the work that was going to come into it, right? And me being the journalist on the other side, having doing stories with people about how difficult it is as a woman, as a Black woman, a woman of color, trying to get funding for their businesses, trying to get seen, and honestly, like really grow like their customer base. A lot of things that happens when it comes to being able to grow a business, that typically is like hard for us. And so having told those stories and now I'm actually living it for real is a whole different experience. Is walking into the bank and saying, hey, I need a loan. And they're saying, oh, your business is still too young. You can't get a loan, but I can give you a credit card. And then building up a whole bunch of like credit card debt. So those are some of the challenges that we face, wherein maybe some of our counterparts don't.
So true. Because recently I remembered hearing that there were grants that were specifically designed for women of color. But then when you apply for these grants, it's a different story. And it's not exactly how they painted it to be. And,
Yeah.
those are some concerns I have. And I hope that anyone who is tuning into the Dr. Powell Show who actually does that line of work, if you could reach out to us to explain it, because I don't see where it's happening for us, especially women of color. It's just not happening. Um, you also spoke about your turning your pain earlier. Would you be okay with, kind of sharing that part of that vulnerable part of you, and how did you end up utilizing that to strengthen who you are now as a businesswoman?
Yeah, so the business name Be Free Communications is also a play off of my late fiance's last name. So last name Freeland, and I remember it was one day, and it's so crazy like to share this story, but it was a year after I had lost him, and I just so happened to see his mom, my mother-in-law, had my wedding band because obviously we never got to the date. And when she gave it to me, I just put it on, but I never took a look at it. And one day I was looking and I said, it looks like something is engraved in it. And I was having a really, really rough grief day. And a lot of those still happen. And, but I'm still grateful that I am able to continue to go, to push through and move forward, as we call it. Not move on, but move forward. And I happened to see in the ring that it said free. And uh, it's so crazy because I know he used to always mention to me, his name is Mike, that he wanted me to be free to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. He knew that I was this super news guru. I was doing all of the things. I was working as a news anchor and all of these things, like accomplishing all of the goals, checking out the boxes. But I truly believe he saw something in me that went beyond just sitting in the newsroom, and that the storytelling skills that I had developed all throughout my life had bigger purpose than just that. And so when it came time to it, because I had started just kind of as a sole proprietor, as a lot of people do, but naming the business, I said, I'm going to call it Be Free Communications and Consulting. And so that's how the name developed. So that's how the business part came. With the book, there was a friend of mine, because Mike had left so many stories where he went above and beyond the call of duty in or outside of uniform every single day. And so I was talking to a friend and she said, you should put those stories like in a children's book. And I said, well, maybe I could. You know what I mean? And so then I really started to think about it and I just started writing. And at one point in time, the grief became so heavy in writing the first book. And one of my friends, she bought me a flight and she said, hey, how about you just come to California? And she said, just to give you some time away. And I came out here, I loved it. And she said, why don't you do a trial run? And when I came back, I was actually able to finish the book within 3 months, because at home where Mike and I had grown life together, because we were together before I was a journalist, we were together before he was a firefighter. And it was just a lot. It's still a lot today, even when I go home, which is Jacksonville, Florida. And so being here in California allowed me to finish the first one, and I released it at the end of 2023. So that has been like the weave of like going back to that storytelling piece of saying, I can take my own personal story and my own personal journey and my story to be able to help so many people. And this book has touched lives all across the country and globally. You and I both being Jamaican, some Jamaican children have copies of this book, and children in the UK. And so it's just been such a blessing to take my story and all of the things that I have experienced in life and just be able to walk with it and continue to share it.
Such a touching story. Thank you for sharing and being so vulnerable and open with us here on the Dr. Powell Show and with the viewers. I'm sure that there's someone out there who will be able to take and harness what you're saying and push themselves forward. It also sounds like you took a whole different walk with what you've been going through and what you still are going through to become and create the person you are today. And that for me is more than inspirational. And I thank God that He blessed you and blessed your life. And I hope that it will not only just start more and more and more each day as you grow, but it will even get beyond your wildest dreams. Have you seen any like remarkable changes that you'd like to share with us?
Oh my gosh, sometimes it's kind of hard to put in words, Dr. Keisha.
Mm.
And it's because you go through something so traumatic as this, and there at times feels like, especially like when it first happens and you just feel like there's no way out. You feel like, at this point, like life is over. And how am I going to be able to, smile again? How am I going to be able to walk again? How am I going to, even though I wrote this book, it's like, how am I going to step in front of children and be able to share his stories and my own story? Because, people are interested in not even just the fact that I wrote the book, but also being able to accept this pivot in life that I didn't necessarily see coming. Because if you would ask me a few years ago, it would have been, okay, I'm going to make it to the national anchor desk. This is going to be life. And it's going to be good. This is how I'm going to live the rest of my life. And maybe that little thought in my head, like, oh, what if I, start a business, but what am I going to do at that point? But this really pushed me to pull those things out of me that I didn't know existed. And I've always been a super ambitious person, super hard worker. You ask anybody who knows me and they'll tell you that. But this took a molding, a reshaping of myself that I didn't even know could happen. And now it's like I get the opportunity. I've always had the opportunity to help share other stories and to be a voice for them. But now I'm also tweaking how other people share their own stories and their businesses and teaching them really how to be confident about doing that, because we all have things that have happened to us, those personal stories that develop us and shape us who we are today. And for me, I am a stronger person. I'll often tell God, I'm like, certain things you didn't have to teach me for me to learn this. You could have just had something else happen, God. But just being very honest and open about like my experience and who I am, it has molded me into this person that now I'm just like a warrior princess, you know what I mean? And never knew that this experience was going to cause me to do all of these things. And recently I walked into a fire station because one of the things I like to do, I take my little Mike the Friendly Firefighter doll. This
Oh,
is
he's
him.
so cute.
Yeah, this is him. I take my Mike the Friendly Firefighter doll to different stations like across the country and introduce myself and telling firefighters about Mike's legacy. And it's a part of me not only just highlighting the things that he did, but it's also showing the things that I am doing to continue that legacy and creating scholarships. His mom and I are starting a foundation in his honor and carrying that legacy on as well. So there are so many highlights to this that I just have been blessed to be able to carry on with my own story. And I am just praying that this continues to touch other people so that they know no matter what you're hit with, no matter what you go through, that there is a way for you to continue on your path and keep walking. It may twirl you around a little bit and throw you off like a tsunami and a hurricane, all the things that I have covered at this point. But there is a way to get back on course and then be able to continue to walk forward.
Amen to that. I know that you also said earlier that you help businesses, especially clinicians,
Mhm.
in not only exposing themselves more where social media and stuff is concerned. Could you give us a little bit of background on that and what exactly you do, and if you have any upcoming events that people can attend so they can learn from you?
Yes, let's talk about that, right? So the Confident Communicators Academy is an academy for media training is what I created to be able to help people be able to be confident when they do public speaking, whether it's on podcasts, whether speaking on a panel, whether it's also being a keynote. A lot of therapists or clinicians, those who work in a mental health profession, have told me, hey, I want to be able to go to the next level. I want to exercise my thought leadership. I want to get in front of rooms. I want to do interviews. And I want people to either, if it's learning more about their practice that they have, to book more clients, or if it's just because they want to establish, like I said, that thought leadership to be a voice and get their message out there. It's teaching those folks how to actually hone those skills and to be confident in doing it. And then also making sure that you all aren't leaving money on the table. If there is an opportunity for you to get paid to speak, now you have the confidence to be able to do so. And so with my media expertise as a journalist, I've done interviews with several therapists. And I know some of them have told me the same things. Oh, I'm really nervous when it comes to doing this. I don't know how to get comfortable and all these things, but there's so much more that I want to do. So it's like really teaching those skills so that way that can happen and that they can walk into the room being very much confident or sitting on a set confident because, at this point, you all are getting interviewed for documentaries, for TV shows, pretty much everything, or just like you hosting a show. And so it's so important. It's an important skill to have, and it allows you to be able to connect with people and be the most authentic version of you when you do so.
It's funny you should say that because if anyone had said to me a few months ago that I would even be hosting a television show, I'm so comfortable working with patients and that's enough for me. But I've also learned through my podcast and through the television show and meeting so many people and connecting. It's so different on this side. And we so need you, Miss Jones, because even though I'm here, put me in a different situation, it's a different story. But I know that you have an upcoming event, training event. Can you tell us a little bit more about that so that those clinicians who are interested, I'm telling you, you should attend?
Yes. So right now I am putting together the Confident Communicators Mental Health Pros media training. And so it's specifically for therapists. I wanted to do this for Mental Health Awareness Month. So that way you all would have the opportunities. And while it's at the end of Mental Health Awareness Month, the next one you'll be ready for. When you're called to do interviews, when you're called to be a speaker for any type of event, a conference, anything like that, you will be ready for it. And then I am planning an encore presentation just in case those can't make it in May. So perhaps look out for June and July and maybe August, because I've done this before for doctors and they just loved it. They said that they learned so much and being prepared for how to speak in sound bites, for how to just do these things that they don't get the opportunity to hear from a journalist on the other side who's done those interviews. And then also from someone who has also, like myself, spoken on those panels or done keynote, getting the opportunity to understand how to really hone in on those skills. So those are some of the things that are coming up. And then also in the fall, drum roll, creating, I am creating the Confident Communicators Academy, and that's going to be open to 20 participants, and that'll be a 5-part series where you can go through all of these things through a workshop, from teaching you about, like I said, speaking deeply. It'll be more of a deep dive into speaking in sound bites, pulling out your personal story so you can share your personal narrative and developing that skill into your speaking skills as well. So it'll be a number of different things that you all will be able to benefit from. But this first one is a 90-minute training that's kind of an intensive overview that you all will be able to get.
What advice could you give our viewers in how to empowering themselves into becoming business leaders?
Empower yourself. It starts with just really, really looking at who you are and what you want to do. Really taking the time to explore what your passions are and how that passion can help somebody else. As a business leader, it is the work that we do that we know we're solving a problem. If there's something that you know that's inside of you that you've been wanting to do, and that skill can help somebody else, like solve a problem for them, go after it. And a lot of times we tend to overthink. I'm an overthinker. I'll tell the truth. We tend to overthink, like, do people really need this? All of these things, even with me starting the media training, I'm going, I know people really need it. But then it's like, how impactful is it going to be for people to see the opportunities that they're leaving on the table if they don't take it? So really think about what it is that you're passionate about, the work that you do, and how it can be helpful to somebody else. And then just go after it. Just start small. Dr. Powell and I know you take small steps and until you get that thing working and you start like the little engine that could. And then after a while, you'll start to see, this is why I was supposed to do this. I was designed to do this. This is a part of my destiny. And it's a part of somebody else's destiny for you being that person to help them, because there's only one you.
Amen. Thank you so much for being on the Dr. Powell Show today. We wish you all the best. I'm looking forward to your workshops. I'm looking forward to seeing where Mike is going to go next. If you haven't, please go on Instagram, follow Miss Brittany Jones, Be Free Communications. You'll see Mike taking trips all over the world. And, again, thank you for inspiring us so much. Honestly, I couldn't be more humbled and honored to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To sponsor the show or to help other programs, donate to Community Voice channel at this QR code that you'll see coming up on the screen.